arcade games are pretty cool. You've got classic publishers like Nintendo, Atari, Taito, and Konami. But one company stood out to me, and that's Namco. Namco is a video game publisher known for classics such as Pac-Man, Galaga, Dig Dug, Mappy, Pole Position, and Xevious. This company started making video games in 1978 with Gi-B, which is just a hybrid of pinball and video game. You see, this is good, but we want to do better. Namco created Galaxian, the prequel to Galaga, which doesn't really have much continuity when it comes to the lore in the video games of the late 70s and early 80s. Galaxian was Namco's answer to Taito's Space Invaders, the difference being there's actually f***ing color. Oh wow, y'all are using Technicolor for this? Why are my eyes bleeding? Galaxian was actually a big hit. I guess those same people that played Galaxian in the 70s must have flipped their shit when they saw Galaga. Whoa! Rally X surprisingly came right before Pac-Man, which is crazy. I usually think of Pac-Man being one of the first arcade games in color. So Rally X is a driving / kind of racing game. You take control of a car that looks like one of those Formula 1 racing cars. You get gas and you try to avoid crashing into this one other car that just feels like he's just asking to crash into you. Pac-Man comes right by and becomes a classic worldwide. This is just what I'm talking about. A yellow talking cheese running around avoiding ghosts and eating orange flavored Tic Tacs. This game is what I think of when I think influential. This game is the king of arcade gaming. Games from the past with these colorful ghosts chasing after you, getting ready to scare the soul out of the yellow one. I feel like when it comes to Pac-Man, there are a lot of qualities that make them a no-brainer for a mascot. The simple character design, the lovable friendly look, and the whole idea that it's in a simple video game just shows that Pac-Man is a great mascot. A few years later, I don't know, like 15 years later, Namco decided to start off the series with the first Namco game released on the PlayStation 1 by the name of Namco Museum, and released the games in different volumes. Japan had their own 5th volume called Namco Museum Encore, with the most beloved letter, the register mark symbol. Namco Museum became its own series, expanding through different platforms every year. Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1, GameCube, Wii, Game Boy Advance, DS, Xbox, etc. I personally have the Game Boy Advance version of Namco Museum, and it includes Miss Pac-Man, Galaga, Dig Dug, Pole Position, and Galaxian. Kinda disappointed the original Pac-Man isn't on here. It does have Miss Pac-Man, and yeah, the marriage is never stable. I believe this is because of some licensing issues. You see, Miss Pac-Man wasn't even the sequel of Pac-Man. It wasn't even made by Namco. Miss Pac-Man started as an enhancement for the original Pac-Man called Crazy Otto, created by programmers employed at the General Computer Corporation. They made a difference in Pac-Man and officially made the character of Miss Pac-Man, Pac-Man's legal wife. Miss Pac-Man plays just the same as the original Pac-Man, but there are some differences. For starters, the music and sound effects are completely different. Clyde's name is changed to Sue, May's frame is altered, there are different cutscenes, and the fruit this time floats around the screen and floats its way through the little portals in the maze screen. One thing you might also notice is that the maze changes every so often. Now, back to Purgatory. GCC got into a lawsuit with Atari for infringing copyright. But after that, GCC was forced to present this to Midway, the original publishers and arcade manufacturers for Pac-Man. After Midway got the rights, Namco came back and decided to buy some of the rights to Miss Pac-Man, because this game always has different owners. Eventually, the whole legal mumbo-jumbo for Miss Pac-Man is just a fee to lend them the rights for that game. Anyway, because of these licensing issues, Miss Pac-Man and the original Pac-Man can't be on the same game, whether it's a cartridge, disc, arcade, anything unless they pay for that. So that was Namco Museum. This is a really cool game series that has lasted from the PlayStation 1 up to recently the Nintendo Switch. And even though it is one of those games that you'll play from roughly 30 minutes to an hour and just completely get bored of it, it's still a really neat game series. You get to experience what these games were like to people that actually played them in real arcades back in the 80s. Who the hell is Sky Kid?